Let's talk about a pretty controversial idea in the world of software. What if our endless chase for perfection, for getting it right the first time, is actually the very thing holding us back?
And that's really the big question we're tackling here. It goes against a core belief in our industry, this idea that we can and that we should be able to predict the future. But in the world we live in today, that belief might just be how we keep getting lost. So let's dig into why.
To really get why building wrong might just be the right move, we have to start with what I call the perfectly flawed plan. It's a look at how our very best intentions can lead to some really bad products. And yeah, this story might sound a little familiar. It all starts with what feels like a slow motion relay race. A customer asks for A. Seems simple, but then a product manager spends 6 weeks translating that into a perfectly detailed document. We'll call that B. Next, the designer takes B and spends another 6 weeks crafting this beautiful, seamless experience, which is C. Then the architect gets C and, of course, insists on a future-proof, super scalable framework, D. And yup, that's another 6 weeks. Finally, with just 2 weeks left on the clock, the engineer gets D. They look at this mountain of work, probably let out a deep sigh, and just ship E, something, anything that actually runs. Everyone high-fives at the launch party, but the customer, they never log in again. And this right here, this is the heart of the problem. You see, everyone did their job perfectly, and that is exactly why the whole thing failed. With every single handover, a little bit of what the customer actually wanted just leaks out until the final product is a ghost of the original idea. And here's what that looks like in practice. The entire system rewards people for perfecting their little piece of the puzzle. A polished document, a gorgeous design, while totally losing sight of the one thing that matters, the outcome. Did we actually solve the customer's problem? The system just isn't built to answer that question. This whole flawed process, well, it leaves behind a toxic byproduct. It creates this technical monument to how certain we were about our predictions. It's the trap we build for ourselves, all in the name of perfection. We call it the onion architecture. Sounds fancy, right? It's built on this really noble goal of being scalable, reusable, totally future-proof. So we build layer after layer of these complex abstractions, thinking we're building a cathedral that's going to stand forever. But this entire beautiful structure is resting on one single, incredibly fragile assumption, that we got the future right. And, let's be honest, when has that ever really been true? The problem is these elegant systems don't just gracefully decay. They calcify. They become these concrete prisons of our own design. And when our predictions are, inevitably wrong, we're stuck in what feels like a patching mud pit. The code gets slow, it gets messy, and the very system that was designed for the future is now the thing that's preventing any real progress at all. So if that's the problem, what on earth is the solution? Well, it's a complete shift in how we think. We have to stop trying to predict the entire map before we set out and just start exploring it. We need to build wrong so we can learn really, really fast. This really nails the new mindset. We're moving away from this old idea of build to last, this obsession with permanence and prediction, and we're embracing a new mantra, build to learn. It's all about discovery and iteration. This whole thing starts with a practice called Endpoint-First. So instead of building up from some abstract foundation, you start with the thing closest to the user, the thing they will actually touch and use. The goal is to get a working solution out in days, not months, so you can get that direct, unfiltered feedback and completely short-circuit that long, broken relay race we talked about. This means we have to completely reframe what we're even doing. Before you know for a fact that people want what you're building, your solution isn't a product. It's an experimenter. Its number one job isn't to be perfect or to last forever. Its job is to gather data, to tell you what's working, what isn't, and what people actually care about. Now, this new way of thinking isn't just some nice philosophical idea. It's actually made possible because of a huge shift in the economics of development, a shift that completely redefines what failure even means. In the age of AI, the cost of writing the wrong code has just plummeted, and that means all those discarded experiments, all those failed prototypes, they aren't waste anymore. They become a high-density context library. Every single attempt, especially when you note down why it didn't work, becomes this incredibly valuable data set for the next try, for both you and for an AI. So the big takeaway here is this. Failure is no longer a cost to be avoided at all costs. It's actually the fuel for discovery. Every dead end you hit gives you crucial information that makes your next attempt that much smarter and that much faster. Okay, I know what some of you are probably thinking right now. Isn't this just reckless vibe coding? A fancy excuse to write messy code and create a mountain of tech debt? And you know what? That's a totally valid concern. We need to tackle that one head on. This kind of criticism is real, and it comes from a place of experience. The idea of just vibe coding, building quick demos and ignoring the hard stuff, is often seen as a recipe for disaster. But this perspective is missing one crucial piece of the puzzle. That inevitable rebuild, it isn't a penalty for writing bad code. It's the success tax. It's the cost of validation. So instead of paying this massive upfront price for a perfect onion architecture based on a total guess, you only pay this tax after you've proven the idea works and you have actual paying users. It's not a punishment, it's the price of victory. So this is what that journey looks like when it goes right. You build fast, you get users, you start earning real revenue, and only then do you celebrate by paying the tax and rebuilding for scale. See, it's not the cost of failure, it's the price of finding something that actually works. So once you've earned the right to pay that tax, the work starts all over again. But this time is different. This time, you're not building on predictions. You're building on cold, hard evidence. You can finally design backward from the truth. We call this the post hoc waterfall. All of your experiments, your failures, your learnings, they've created a map of what actually works. So now you can metaphorically stand in the future, look back, and build a stable, robust system based on patterns you've already proven. Design isn't about imagining perfection anymore. It's about codifying discovery. And this is how that idea plays out on a much bigger level. Instead of trying to build one giant code base that does everything for everyone, you build lean, specific solutions. Maybe you start with a booking system for a pet clinic. Once you've perfected that workflow through real-world use, you don't just add more features. You extract the meta pattern, the core, validated DNA of that workflow. Then, AI can take that proven pattern and just rapidly stamp it out for new verticals, like beauty salons or tutoring services, with super high confidence. And this is the real power of this approach in the age of AI. When writing code is cheap, the thing that truly scales isn't the code itself. It's the context. It's that deep, battle-tested understanding of why something works. And that understanding becomes the fuel for some serious growth. Which brings us to a final question, really about our own identity. This isn't just about changing a process. It's about making a choice. Are we craftsmen meticulously perfecting a vision that we imagined? Or are we scientists running experiments to discover what's actually true? The craftsman builds for beauty, the scientist builds for understanding. And in this new era, understanding is the only thing that truly scales. So which one will you choose to be?